Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest, Miss Jody Lynn Nye, introduce herself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Yay! Happy to be here. I am a writer of science fiction and fantasy, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of romance, most of it with a humorous bent of some kind, and happy to learn something new and happy to bring it to my readers.
All right, and now we've got our newest part-time co-host that's filling in since the government won't let Nick stop working. So Jana has stepped in a lot lately. So we're naming her an official co-host. She is the chief shenanigator. And for those who don't know, you get to introduce yourself as the newest co-host.
Oh, yay. I love introducing myself. My name is Jana S Brown. I write urban fantasy, science fiction, fantasy, all the speculative things under the pen name Jana Ray. I write other things under other pen names. I can speak. And I really, really like doing this. And I have been reading from Jody Lynn Nye since the probably 80s. I've read most of what you put out, and you've had some great partnerships and some great solo stuff. And I'm very excited. I'm going to fangirl over here very quietly, okay?
That's always a good thing. I've read some of the books from her, the president of her fan club. Somebody knows him as Bill Fawcett. He writes good books too.
That's true. We do.
I'm told he's the president of your fan club. That's what he told me anyway.
I don't know who the president of my fan club is.
No, I was trying to be funny. I guess the joke didn't land. Your husband.
Oh, I think that is true. But I'm also the president of his fan club.
As it should be.
As it should be.
So since you've been on before with the standard religion question, we decided to mix it up a little bit. So Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, or The Bionic Woman?
The Bionic Woman. I enjoyed that much more than the other two.
Okay. What is it about that one that spoke to you so much?
Well, for one thing, in a time when there were very few shows that were headlined by women, she was one of them. And yes, it was the female version of the $6 Million Man, but that's okay with me. And I liked Lindsay Wagner. I thought that she was a terrific actress, and she felt calm. She felt in control of her life, and the things that she was not in control of, she went to understand. And I think that's not a bad thing for anyone to learn. And of course, there was the cool SF stuff of making her a superhero in a scientific way, or at least pseudoscience for the kids of the 70s.
One of the things I liked when you compare her, because these were, so if you didn't catch the theme, dear listener, these are all shows from the 70s or movies. When you compare her to like Wonder Woman, who would be her contemporary, she did everything as far as giving like the woman power, and that's got a kind of derogatory words these days, but she gave the female voice for the nerds of that era without having to reveal any part of her body. She would wear normal clothes. I mean, normal for the era, but it wasn't like Wonder Woman, who's essentially wearing a bikini, right, as her costume.
Well, a male, a one-piece bathing suit.
Mm-hmm.
It looked, well, I'm colorblind, and the ones I've seen of it are kind of hard to distinguish what the colors are. So I actually thought it was a bikini, but apparently it's a one piece. You learn something new every day. There are details that get missed on me on older shows that don't have the high def because I don't see the colors like everyone else does.
Yeah, it's red, white, blue, and gold, and there's a lot of
gold. Probably is what I'm missing. That would explain
that would turn it into a bikini for you.
There's an extremely funny one-frame cartoon of Wonder Woman having transformed all the men's superhero costumes into ones that looked like hers. And the was, if I can't have pants, neither can you.
Neither can you. Oh, I love that one. It was so good.
Are you familiar with College Humor, the website? They're not really doing much anymore, but it's a comedy website that was really popular in the 90s and early aughts. But they did one about gaming, and the guy and the girl go on this quest, and they get the reward from the NPC, and he gets this armor that's just super cool and protects him, and she gets a bikini armor, but it's supposed to have the same stats, and she starts complaining about it, and the guy's like, that's absolutely right. And so of course the joke is then he gives him the bikini too, instead of giving her what he was wearing.
We'll be fair.
And he likes it. That's the difference, is that
That was the
he
joke.
puts
Is
it
he
on and
liked
then
it,
all
yeah.
likes it. It's like, really?
It's so airy. That was what his line was. It's so airy. So
I
what
like
about you?
somebody who is not bothered by that. If it works, it works. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
And that to me is a secure man that I would go out with.
Yeah,
There's truth to that.
I just think it's funny because it's kind of making jokes about all the sci-fi, or excuse me, all the fantasy video games that are out there in the 90s and the early 2000s, where the women were caricatures almost, when it comes to like what they were wearing. So what about you, Jana? Since we haven't asked this set of questions for those three, for Space 1999, the original Battlestar Galactica, or the Bionic Woman?
Okay, I have some big love for the Bionic Woman, but also that original Battlestar Galactica, they were just so much fun. You know, it was cheesy and it was campy, and Starbuck and Apollo were all the things. And at that point in my life, you know, I thought they were really cute and all these things. So it's a toss-up between the two. Space 1999 never did a whole lot for me, but I liked both. I would watch the Bionic Woman and Battlestar back-to-back and be perfectly happy with as an afternoon well spent.
If we're going purely on the show itself, I enjoyed watching the Bionic Woman more, and I guess Battlestar Galactica would be second. But if we're going for pure nostalgia, I have fond memories of sitting in Grandpa Handley's office, and we would put together that Space 99 spaceship. He had the model kit, and we would, and of course I would break it because I was clumsy and a kid, but I remember spending hours trying to put that thing together with him. By the time we were done, it had lots of duct tape and glue where it shouldn't have been, but it was finished eventually.
Oh, good.
So that's a very iconic look for a spaceship when it comes to science fiction. But you can't go wrong with any of those, which was fun. But the funny thing is so when I typed in, I wanted to go by era because I tend to do that. This one happened to be the 70s. When I typed in 70s sci-fi, lots of options, shows, movies, whatever. You type in 70s fantasy for shows and movies, and it's still all the sci-fi answers. It's like you can't figure out what fantasy is. And some of it I could see going both, like Planet of the Apes. I could see it fitting in either category. But some of it, Space 1999, definitely not fantasy. So it was difficult to come up with this list. But Return from Witch Mountain, Pete's Dragon, or the Hobbit cartoon?
We are talking about the Rankin Bass thing?
Yes.
Okay. Pete's Dragon.
Excellent choice. What about you, Jana?
Oh, Pete's Dragon. Return to Witch Mountain was fine, but the original Escape to Witch Mountain was better.
Yeah.
I think the actors were a lot better, and the story was a lot better. So the original one was better, and the Hobbit was fun, but Pete's Dragon is just so, you know, every time they go through the list of all the things you can make from dragon, it's like that is just a wonderful list right there, that you could write all sorts of stories, starting with, okay, Dragon Tears will do this and Dragon Tales will do this and all these things. And then you think about it and you go, this is a Disney movie and it's just a little bit horrific. This guy wants to catch him and chop him into pieces. And you think that was my childhood.
I think that there are a lot of horrific elements in Disney pictures that people ignore. Bambi's mother is shot dead in front of him. There's a lot of it. Anytime that they make things too soft for kids, that they don't understand the immediacy, the urgency of solving the problem that they fall into. What is there to strive for or to guard against? And every time we make things too soft, that children won't appreciate it. There has to be something legitimate that is the wrong thing that they want to avoid. Yeah. So I'm glad that they did that. Also, I do have to put in a bit of love for the actor who played that character. That was Jim Dale, who has narrated countless audiobooks in the years, including the Harry Potter books.
Okay. Did not know that.
Wonderful actor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I really liked Pete's Dragon. So Pete's Dragon and Shannara Chronicles were two properties that had me when I was out just playing in the neighborhood, always looking for the rocks and for the dragon that never showed up. But I was certainly looking for him when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved. They did a remake that I haven't seen, but I liked the original. The original didn't really
Don't do
specify.
the remake. Don't
It's not good.
don't ruin the nostalgia you have for the property. Just don't do it.
So they never show
made
in
me
the
sad.
original how Pete finds the dragon, just that he has his invisible friend Elliot who helps him escape the abusive foster parents. I liked Return from Witch Mountain, but I agree with you. The Escape from Witch Mountain was better. I don't think the same vision was there for it could have been good, Return to Witch Mountain, but I just don't think the people had the same vision. I enjoyed the Hobbit, the cartoon. That's how I met Tolkien. But if we're looking at cartoons of the era like that, I think The Last Unicorn was a better cartoon.
Yes. Beautiful.
That was fantastic.
Iconic.
But
art form and the emotion of it was so beautiful.
Now, you want to talk about horrific, though, with Disney where they went too far. Have you seen some of the cutscenes that have leaked over the years from the Black Cauldron and how horrific some of that was? Like, they literally had the bad guys, like, they were fighting the soldiers, and they had the soldiers, like, whole flesh melt off of them and become walking skeletons. When they did the test showing of the original version in California, there were kids that ran from the theater screaming, mothers that picked babies up, covering their eyes and dragging them out. And even the ones that stayed in the theater, like, had kids pissing themselves, and just, it was so bad. These kids were traumatized. If the legend is, like, I know that's true, but supposedly they also had to pay for therapy for some of these kids. It was that bad.
It depends on how you present it. If you look at Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, everybody turns into a zombie, in some cases, skeletons.
Yeah.
And yet we are not as frightened by them. In fact, they're funny. But kids...
It was the flesh melting.
Right.
Well, how much of that is we've kind of become desensitized to violence on the screen in an era where it's more common than it used to be as far as viewing? I don't know that to be true. I haven't done the research, but I've seen people pontificate that we've gotten more violent on just in general on our media. If that is the case, then maybe it's just a more innocent time. I don't know. I
actually agree with that. We're making kids grow up too fast. We're presenting them with things that would have been hidden from them in previous decades, in fact, centuries. And yet, if you go far enough back, there were kids helping with killing chickens for dinner. So we see death in a different way. We see slaughtering as something to be avoided utterly. So I think there's an argument to be made that perhaps we are avoiding difficult topics to the exclusion of reality.
I grow up in a farming family, and I'm constantly amazed and shocked at people who really think the food just appears at the grocery store.
Oh gosh.
And like, we can just take the land from the farmers. We need more land. I'm like, okay, well, where are you going to get your food? From the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You can't be this dumb.
How do you think it gets there?
They have no idea. We had our first house together, my husband and I, we planted some fruit trees, and we discovered that on the plum trees that were just outside our front door, we had a couple of cocoons. And one day we walked out and they were beginning to hatch. And it was very exciting. We called the two kids over from across the street and we said, come on over, see this. This is really neat. And we watched these two huge, gorgeous moths pull themselves out of the cocoons, spread their wings out, dry them, and then fly away. And we thought, this is a great thing to have the kids witness. And we were telling them what was going on while it was happening. Then when the moths had flown away, they pointed to the little green things hanging from the tree and said, what are those? And we said, they're plums. And they said, oh, plums don't grow on trees. And we said, where do they come from? They said, the grocery store.
You can get away with that when you're a kid. When you're an adult saying those same things, it's a little concerning. It's the same thing with the meat, where they're like, where do you think the chicken nuggets you're eating come from? Or, the hamburger.
Chickens don't have nuggets. Yeah.
That was a funny Chick-fil-A ad a couple years ago. Where are the nuggets on a chicken anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Alton Brown goes off on it, too, that chickens don't have nuggets, nor do they have fingers. And it bothers him that we don't call things what they actually are, but
yeah, I grew up in a farming family, so it's something that was just always around for us, and so it always amazes me how out of touch with that we've become.
Yeah.
And I think that it's affected in some of the way we portray things on TV too, which kind of feeds that. But all right. So since last time you answered your favorite dinosaur, what is your favorite zoo animal?
Ooh. I don't think they should be in zoos, but snow leopards.
Okay.
Oh,
I think they're gorgeous.
Are you against snow leopards in zoos or zoos in general?
I am against snow leopards in zoos. On the other hand, they are very endangered, so it might be a way to protect them and show them to people so that they can be their habitat might be able to be preserved. And I think what the Columbus Zoo, the Tampa Zoo, and a few others in helping to rebuild endangered populations is a very good thing. And many of them try to breed populations that they can release to the wild. They don't humanize them. They don't expose them to people too much. So, and yet, what happens to animals that are too injured or have been tamed too much to be released? So, zoos have their place. I think education is an enormous part of them.
So you're not against zoos per se. You just think they should be more responsibly managed.
Yes, absolutely. I have seen photographs from zoos around the world, and some of them horrify me. I have been to animal exhibits in other countries that I just want to scream.
Yeah.
I can't repatriate the animals, so I don't know what else I can do.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for, taking the endangered ones and helping get the populations to a sustainable level. And I know it can be done because at one point in time, some of the wolf populations were endangered. And now they're telling hunters, like, yeah, you can shoot them again. If they try to eat you, you don't have to die anymore. I'm being facetious, obviously, dear listener, but we can bring animals back from the brink if we're responsible. What about you, Jen? I don't think we've ever asked you, do you have a favorite zoo animal?
Okay, so I live near the Hogle Zoo here in Utah, and it is a fantastic zoo. And my very favorite is they have this gigantic Siberian tiger with an attitude. And I love him because of his attitude. And they've had to put on the fence big signs that say, "This is an unneutered male. He sprays. Stay away from the fence line." And every time I've been there, I have seen some moron who has ignored the sign and tried to get right up as close to the fence as they could so they could get a picture with this giant tiger in the background. And the tiger just takes that as permission to lift his leg and let him know how you feel about this. And it's hysterical every time. And I love him because tigers are awesome. I love all the big cats anyway. But that he has that particular attitude about visitors cracks me up every time. I love going to visit just to go, we will stay clear over here. We will stay far clear of that. And there's always somebody, and especially when it's a cocky 20-something-year-old male, it warms my heart. It's true.
Are you laughing at them or with them, though, Jana?
Oh, at them. Absolutely at them. There's a sign there. If they choose not to read it, they deserve the outcome that comes thereafter. If you read the sign, it tells you exactly, where you should stay outside of, what the range is. You're just fine. But I find that people who read signs and then ignore them, thinking it doesn't apply to them, that is justice at work. You get what you asked for.
Oh, that's beautiful.
For me, it's always been wolves. I've always liked. It's all David Eddings' fault when he had Gareth the sorcerer turn into a wolf, and I've loved wolves ever since. But the funny one, you mentioned the signs that they ignore. You see that, and I've watched a lot of the reaction videos to the British, like the Buckingham Guards and all of that, where you got the mounted guards at some of the locations, and they're like, these are working animals. Do not get close to them. Don't touch them. And then the people will always try to touch the animal for the picture, for the photo op, and get surprised when the horse bites them because it is a war horse. It is not a pet. Which is always amusing because it's not even that there's a written sign, there's a picture sign because it's obviously the picture from lots of language, right?
They've painted a square on the ground near the horse guards in London, and they bite, they kick. And the guard will tell them over and over again, stay back, don't touch the horse. And there's always some idiot who wants to grab the reins and stands next to them, and the horse leans over and bites them, and they're always surprised.
There's my favorite is people where there was a riot once where locally where the horse police were dispatched to break the crowd up. It was tourists gone crazy. Alcohol and drunk young 20-somethings is generally not a good combination when they're on vacation. And so the horse police come out to sort of disperse everyone because they basically want to break up the fighting and stuff. If they just go their separate ways, we're good. You don't even really have to arrest people at that point. And someone got the bright idea that he was going to challenge a horse to a fight and punched it. And then he sued because the horse kicked him. And he's like, it broke my leg, police brutality. And the local judge just laughed him out of the courtroom. They're like, no, we're not doing that. I'm like, what do you think the horse is going to do? It's huge. It, mass is on its side, right? Like, it's not going to end well for you. Whether it was a police horse or a private horse or just a horse in the wild. You see that
there's a mass ratio there.
I've seen that with people out west that go up to the moose at the Yellowstone.
No.
And they get really close for those pictures. And I'm like, you lived because you got lucky. Please, no.
It's the bison that are worse.
The bison, that's the one I'm thinking about.
Yes, it's the bison, and every year, so I live in Utah, so Yellowstone is our next door neighbor up there in the north, and you kind of have a poll going, a betting pool going for how soon will we see the first article of tourist gets gored by bison, because despite the fact they tell them stay away from them, they're like cows, and in West Yellowstone they have T-shirts and things that say do not pet the fuzzy cows, because it's not, and it will kill you. And when I went cross-country skiing across Yellowstone, they said, the thing with cross-country skiing is that you can come around something and suddenly you're in a herd of bison. And they're like, we can survive this, but the rule is keep going in the tracks, do not stop, do not make noises, do not look at them, just keep going and you'll be fine. But the moment that you stop, make eye contact or anything else, they'll kill us all. So good luck. We were teenagers and away we went. And we did. We ended up in a herd of bison, and everybody just kept going, keep going, keep going, don't die, keep going.
That's when you wish you had the GoPro with you.
And do not, under any circumstances, touch a calf.
No. I have seen, because my family had dairy farm, and I've seen idiots try to go in after the bull because they were going to pet it because it's just a cow. And I'm like, no, this doesn't end well for you, sir. Please, no. And it's the out-of-town kids that are like city folk that just think it's funny. And I grew up in the burbs, so I'm not judging. I'm not a farm kid. I just have them in the family. But even I know common sense, like it's got horns and it's big. Maybe I don't want to do that.
Yeah. To a forest park ranger, and they were admiring the bison herd. This was the one in the lower reaches, not up the one that's way up in the mountains. He asked the man, "Ever have any trouble with it?" And the guy said, "Yeah, we had a problem with one. There's a couple, and the woman was the husband told his wife to go and stand next to the bison, and he took pictures of it, and then he told her to make it stand up so they could take better pictures of the bison."
Oh.
And she went around and kicked it under the tail. Yeah, it stomped her to death, and the husband was hysterical and wanted the bull shot. And they said, "Well, what would you do if somebody did that to you?"
Right.
So they took him up to the upper herd, and it's tragic, but understandable that you don't believe that these are actually wild creatures, because everybody believes it's Disneyland out there.
Yes, I was going to say that. I will say one of the things I like about some of the classic sort of science fiction groups is a lot of what they've done, like David Weber, for instance, has his big cat charity that they fund. And you see a lot of that in some of the OG, like they would support these animal rescues. Which I thought was always kind of cool. If you're going to get together and do some sort of charity, that's a pretty cool one, I think. And I've seen animal themed charities with a lot, because I mean everybody likes animals, right? Whatever else you might hate about each other, that's the one thing we can all agree on. Animals are cool, And so it was kind of that unifying thing is we'll raise money for these, these animals with the animal rescues and such. So
yeah, but it's the same thing that says when we go off into space and we meet aliens that look like the animals that we love, human beings are so doomed because the first thing we're going to do is go, oh, let me pet it. I mean, I think about my daughter. She's 12 and she is animal nuts. And I'm like, yeah, if she landed on an alien planet and something ginormous and fuzzy came out, it would not matter how many fangs it had, how many claws it had, how many anything else. She would be the first in line to go make friends because her whole thing would be, if not friend, why friend shaped? I'm out of there. It's like, yep, that's what would happen is we would totally screw ourselves up in negotiations because we'd want to pet it.
That's half the joy of humanity, though. There's a trope or something out there of humans will make pets out of anything.
Yes.
And it's true. And it's going to get us killed, or at least some of us killed.
Mentally.
That's humanity.
I'm always like, when you see people eating these weird things, they're like, we know this one's safe, but this one's not. And I'm imagining the first one there was like, oh, new, let me put it in my mouth. And then somebody drops dead. But
don't eat that one because it killed Bob.
One of the cool things, though, is the Jack Campbell or John Emery. He's rebranding a lot back to his given name, but he wrote the Lost Fleet series and then the follow-on series. And in that one, part of the conflict was that the alien species was encroaching in one side, sort of like the Genghis Khan effect, pushing the bad guys forward into the other team side. And the bad guys were shaped like the two different alien races were cows and pandas, which, we kind of see as, oh, cute. And they were not cute. They were murder pandas and murder cows. And so I like seeing some of that. I wish more people would do that because it was like, on the one hand, it was gritty and serious, but I was laughing hysterically. It was great. So speaking of animals, so one of the things we want to talk to you about is that we do love short fiction. And originally this was going to be a short interview for a short story because we read your Dragon Cat story that is titled officially The Dragon's Cat. First off, that was too much fun. So I brought Jan on because I thought afterwards we could talk about other animals in fiction. But what was that originally for? Where did you originally publish that?
I wrote it for that. I wrote it for the anthology.
Okay. What was the
I can hear you now.
While she's coming back.
All right. Sorry about that technical difficulty. It seems like StreamYards was doing some weird updates and it's not interfacing with all of the websites. So there was some glitching on Jody's part. So as I edit it to cut that out, I figured we'd just insert the commercial here. So one, thank you for sticking with us through these tech issues. Sometimes it just happens. There's nothing we can do about it. And two, we still appreciate every second that you bless us with your time. And with that, I'm going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man, and then we'll get back to talking with Jody.
They came in peace, or so the aliens said. Here are 18 examples of their lies. Venture into the unknown with us. Who is out there? What will they want from us? Join us in the adventure of First Contact. Each story explores a different facet of aliens meeting humanity. Buy Contact This, a First Contact anthology, and read some of the industry's best storytellers today.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And now we're going to get back to discussing all of the coolest things with a friend of the show, Ms. Jody Lynn Nye, and our newest chief shenanigator and co-host, Jana S Brown. And with that, we'll move right on over to the other side. Boom! Hit the play button. Stop.
The Feisty Felines is part of Kevin J. Anderson's program at Western Colorado. And they do his PhD class, master's. They do a master's in publishing, and every year they do a new anthology. And the anthologies are amazing. And we go up, those of us who are not Jody Lynn Nye yet or Mercedes Lackey yet, we have to compete with them to say, can we maybe get our stories in? I actually put in for this story and I got cut, but at least I was like the second cut. So I wasn't immediately cut. I was a little closer to the top, and then I saw the table of contents and I'm like, oh yeah, these were amazing. And then I read the stories and went, yeah, they totally chose right. I would have loved to be in it, but they were so good. But these are amazing anthologies, and they do them every single year. This year was on Cupid. The Fantastical Felines was one year, and it's such a lovely program. And we get short stories from people that, you're kind of legends to us for the number of years who I've been reading you. And it's like, oh, they're so cute. So that's what I can tell you about it. Now that Jody's back with us, she can tell us everything else.
Kevin got in touch and said, this year's theme is fantastical felines and other familiars. And that sounds like it is totally in your wheelhouse. And I agreed that it was, in fact, in my wheelhouse. And my cats agreed. So
was your cat part of the inspiration when you described?
I have 3 cats right now. I've had other cats in the past. And it wouldn't be far off to say that 2 of the cats I have right now, who are sisters, might not have been part of the inspiration for the 2 kitties in the story. But Kevin wanted something that was typical of what I write, which is to say cozy humor, and how there are lots of stories out there about people who have familiars. So I thought that I would shake it up a little bit and leave it a little confused for a moment whether or not the dragon was somebody's familiar. And considering the cat in question, that wouldn't be far from possible.
It was really good. I will track down a link so people can buy this anthology and read it. It's good. So it was inspired somewhat by your cat, but what made you decide to pair it the way you did? Because I would not have thought to go there with the cat and the dragon together. Because I would be like, okay, one of them, the dragon's eating the cat.
She did consider it.
She thought about it, and in fact considers it again, because cats may not be the easiest creature in the world for a nice dragon who likes peace and quiet. So I'm not sure, except that people like dragons, people like cats, and it sounds to me like one of those things that it was just begging to happen.
It's like peanut butter and chocolate.
Absolutely. Also, when I publish something of my own, the name I publish it under is Cat and Dragon Press.
Oh,
so
cool.
It sort of seems like a fairly short hop.
So was
Cat? That was trivia I was going to bring up. Sorry, JR. I was really excited about that. I knew that.
Was that a new naming for you, or have you been into this from the beginning when you started writing the Cats and Dragons? I mean,
Cats and dragons. I love things about cats, things about dragons and cats. Seems kind of obvious. If you've read Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern, fire lizards are kittens with thumbs and wings. Just face it.
Absolutely.
And they get into more stuff than cats can, although cats are pretty good at that.
Okay.
So,
did you one of the things that struck me in the beginning is I thought it was a person, because there's like the very first paragraph, so I'm not spoiling anything, but the cat is talking, right? So was that something that when you wrote that was a leap, the idea that these animals could actually talk, or do you think the sci-fi fantasy community is sort of okay with anthropomorphic sentient beings?
Dragons talk too.
But you don't see a lot of times where the cats talk unless the cat is not a cat. It's just a shifter in cat form.
That is fair. There are pieces of fiction I've read where the dragon is the shifter. In fact, I've written in a series where the dragons are shifters.
I clearly need to read more of your stuff because that sounds interesting.
Robert Asprin's Dragon's Luck, Dragon's Wild.
They're so good.
They're fun. They're a lot of fun. In fact, we have one crossbred that a lot of the dragon shifters won't talk to, because he's not only part dragon, he's part werewolf. So,
oops,
poor guy.
His parents got some splaining to do.
No, his parents are perfectly happy with him. It's the purebreds that don't like him.
Ah, okay.
They're just as snotty as anybody else with blue blood. So
that's fair.
I figure if I have talking dragons, I can have talking cats. And there are other creatures that speak in that world, but for the purposes of my story, I thought dragons and cats were plenty.
So does
That's why I
that?
was like,
It's good enough reason. Rule of cool.
Yeah.
Is that a story that stands alone, or does it fit into, or is it a standalone, or does it fit into a larger world?
it's a standalone right now, but it's a perfectly good world. It might make another appearance at some point.
I was definitely left wanting more, which is always a good thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I do a lot of world building for my short stories, so I could frequently revisit them if I want to.
And it shows in the writing. I've seen some that, short story is code for crappy writing for some people. Like they just take shortcuts. I've seen that. And I love short content. I grew up, that's how I learned to read, was on the Reader's Digest versions of stories. So for me, it's kind of like, that's why I publish the anthologies we do. I don't generally, if we break even, I'm calling it a good day. It's a vanity project because I love short content. And so I appreciate a well-crafted short story. I think when some of those magazines started failing, we lost something with some of those short content that's not getting made. And if you don't think so, anyone who's complaining now about the lack of ideas in Hollywood, a lot of those movies back in the day were from short stories. Like I think Philip K. Dick's got the most out there that were converted. It's a breeding ground for brilliant ideas that you can just toy with because it's not a lot of investment on the writer side. So you can try every outlandish idea you've ever thought about and just see what happens.
That's one of the wonderful things about a short story. You can make a good movie out of one, whereas it's very difficult to make a good movie out of a novel because there's so much that needs to be cut off. You can make a decent mini series or a full-blown series out of a novel, but you lose so much.
So when you are writing this one, how much of so you described obviously the cat had personality. How much of that was need of the story, and how much of that was, like you mentioned, the inspiration was your own cat? How much of that cat's personality was your cat?
None of it really. It's the character. I know that a lot of people write, say, movie stars or people they know into stories, but unless I'm Tuckerizing somebody, my characters are for the story. Mm-hmm. They are not somebody that I am echoing, because I think that limits you. I would rather have a character develop for the story. They'll have characteristics or they'll have aims that are specifically for that book or short story, but they're for that story.
Okay. I only asked because it's, for me, like it was believable, but I've never owned a cat. So, I just had to go with it. So I was curious if that was because you let your own pets inspire you, or you just went with it because you knew cats because you'd had pets. Like there's a distinction there, if that makes sense.
I've had lots of cats, and if you pick one up by the scruff, which is what happened to Mero at one point, they are going to fight either in a playful fashion or fighting for their life. Mm-hmm. One of our current cats were all ferals at one point, and the youngest one always acts as if you're going to kill her when you try to, say, put her into the box to go to the vet.
Oh, not the box. They hate the box.
When you say feral, does that mean you rescued them from the street, or they were rescued and then you adopted them?
My friend who does cat rescue brought these cats in. Her sister-in-law rescued our current eldest cat, Athena, and she rescued the mother of the other two, who were 2 of 5. So they brought in the mom cat and 5 babies.
I will say that is one difference. People, if you tell them you abandon your dog, they'll look at you like, you've just morphed into Hitler. But people think nothing of abandoning cats to the wild, because it's like they'll be okay. And you end up with issues that are
big
sad.
Issues.
It's sad. It's partly it's the presumption, well, they'll be okay because the concept of the alley cat, right?
No, they won't. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's horrible, but there's not the same culture, and there should be, but there's not that same cultural condemnation of that as there is when they do it to puppies, sadly.
Well, and cats fight things, and they get fought back, and so that they get torn up. I've got 2 beautiful cats, and we love our boys very much, and they want to be outside all the time, and we're like, nope, they have leashes and they have harnesses, and that is the only way they get to go outside, because
Mhm.
we back on a canal. There are raccoons back there, there's skunks back there, there's spiders, there's all sorts of stuff that my boys would love to try to kill, including the Canadian geese, because they've seen the Canadian geese and they just go nuts, and I'm like, no, you don't understand that as big and beautiful and all 13, 14 pounds of you, because they're big Bengal crosses. So they're wildcats, and oh, they want to kill the birds. And it's like, if you go after the goose, you're gonna die, because geese are mean. But yeah, we're not gonna let them outside, because they will A, kill a lot of things, and B, they'll probably come back clawed up, and we don't want that for them. So it's part of being a responsible owner, is to keep them where you're able to take care of them.
Yes.
So with this short story, when you write dragons, do you have any kind of like theme in mind when you're writing them, or do you let every dragon that you, because some people like to write the dragon has to be this one way, the one true way. I've seen arguments online about this, and it has to have the horde, and it has to have this, or it has to have that. Do you, when you write stories, try to stick to that, or do you use the concept of a dragon and then make it your own? I think there's a dissenting opinion on which way is the right way. I think as long as it's cool, I'll go with it, but I know not everyone agrees.
I've written various different kinds of dragons, so they are different. It depends on what I need for the story. In this case, I needed one that could do magic, and there's an argument in some cases that if a creature is magic, it cannot do magic. I think Piers Anthony's approach is magic creatures don't do magic. They are magic. So that seems to be fairly widespread. And while my character is intelligent, she is not necessarily as wise. Hence the wise old wizard who is her good friend.
I love that.
But
yeah,
in some cultures, the dragon is the wisest because they have lived so long and they have acquired knowledge over time. And wisdom is intelligence applied. You may gain experience, but if you don't apply it to what you are going through, it's of no use to you. You can have people who are intelligent as anything and can't dress themselves.
yes,
They have perfectly wise people that have to acquire knowledge as they go along because they don't necessarily have it, but they know how to apply it. And in the case of my dragon, she's picked fights with people. The Cyclops in the story, she's had a long going feud with. So she's not perfect. She's not a perfect dragon, but she's willing to listen, and I think she's a good character.
I liked it. I definitely thought when I saw that feud, there were some shades of Hatfield and McCoy, and I thought it was entertaining. I don't know if you were going for that, but you know, I in Virginia, that's something very relevant to the local history that we all studied in school.
No, I did not go with that, but it's likely that that creatures who like to acquire wealth,
right,
or need a lot of territory in order to sustain themselves, are going to fall into disputes with other creatures who have the same lifestyle, if you want to call it that. So that was something that grew up organically out of the story.
It worked. I was there for it, and it worked because it also tied into real things, whether you knew it or not.
Well, I do know about feuds, but in this case, there was no direct application.
Well, I mean, feuds in general are like, I was lifting a very specific one because it's local to me, but you're right. The feud concept is sort of universal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a favorite way to, because obviously you write with the needs of the plot, and I get that. When you're as a reader reading about dragons, or you're reading about cats in fiction, since you love both, do you have a preference on the consumption end, like what you like to read? Like how they're portrayed?
Oh, how they're portrayed? No, I'll let the writer try and draw me in. there are times when I don't believe it, and that's fair. The kinds of stories I like might not be for everybody, and vice versa.
Okay. I know the reason I ask is because I know at one point in time, we've talked about this on the podcast, even you were a professional book reviewer. So you've probably read more widely than most of us get to because it was your job for a little bit. And so you would have seen lots of versions, I imagine, over the years that you did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also as the coordinating judge for the Writers of the Future contest, I see a lot of approaches to
Oh, I didn't know
stories.
you did that. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. For about 3 years now, I took over from David Farland, who we lost in January of 2022.
Yeah.
And we get a few really amazing stories and a lot of people who are not quite there yet, and a lot of swing and a miss, but that's fairly typical. And any magazine will tell you the same.
Yeah.
But when we get a really good one, I cannot wait to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm trying to think if I've had any finalists that were about dragons, but I've certainly seen dragon stories go by.
Yeah. When I think dragons, I like seeing them when you get more of the dragons as the bad guy go, St. George fighting the dragon kind of thing. I find that maybe it's because the boy is still in me somewhere, years and years old, but like I like the idea of like chasing down the dragon to save the village kind of thing. That speaks to me. But you ask my sister, who also is a reader, and she's like, no, the dragon's got to shift and be the love interest. So I know like there's preferences.
Two extremes there. We kill it, we kiss it.
Right. And I was like, well, how do you fit the dragon in the house? And of course, she gives me the Doctor Who answer because she's a huge Whovian. She's like, it's bigger on the inside. I'm like, okay.
The inside.
Because you can't argue with that. Like, what do you say?
Well, there are different approaches to fiction, and there's the physicist approach to fantasy that I don't agree with, and that is, if you are a dragon, there's no way you can transform into a human being-sized creature without shedding a whole lot of weight somewhere. And
yes, conservation of mass.
Yes, but for fantasy, it's fantasy. I don't believe that you have to have conservation of mass.
Or you could just use the catch-all. It's in a pocket dimension somewhere.
If you wish, if you must.
If you must. Although I'm told it's in sci-fi, as long as you put the word quantum in front of it, you can do pretty much any magical thing you want to.
Quantum helps.
And I've seen some funny interviews where they've recorded some of the professors, and that was his first speech to all of his students studying quantum engineering is, if you're not confused by the end of this class, then you didn't pay attention either, because we're all confused. Which I thought was a funny state of the industry. So I don't want to go too deep into the story because I really do think people should read it. And I will track down a link where it's for sale because I do think it's worth reading. I really enjoyed the story. But moving on to just in general, why do you think, because I've seen some of the industry publications are assuming that because they're now able to track things more granularly, that cats in fiction are on the rise. Do you think it's always been there and they're just not tracking?
Cats in fiction are what?
They're seeing that it's popular again, is what some of the reporting is saying. But I don't know, because it's one of those things where you're guessing on the stats before that because we didn't track it, right? Like to the degree that AI algorithms will. So is it really on the rise, or was it always popular and people just noticed now? But I'm seeing more of it.
Publishers have a really weird tightrope to walk.
Okay.
And there are things that have been declared dead by publishers but continue to be popular. And now that we have things like Kindle and people being able to self-publish successfully, certain tropes have never gone away because they don't have to. I will not say which one it is, but Esther Friesner and I were planning to write a book together, but we were told by her agent that particular subject was dead, and we were not going to be able to sell a book with that subject. And yet we watched several more books come out the next couple of years on that very subject. So who was calling it dead?
Yeah.
I think that now that there's no gap, that people who like to write cat stories and people who like to read cat stories can come together in a successful fashion. People who like dragon stories, people who like werewolf stories, and they are there for the taking. It's just that publishing houses, what they call the legacy publishers or the bricks and mortar ones, they have to choose carefully because they are more limited than anybody else in what they can put out. As they are putting out physical books, they are limited to the number of slots they have every month, every year. Whereas, how many millions of books come out on Kindle or any of the electronic services every year? It dwarfs traditional publishing.
I also think that the other things that a lot of people don't consider is the overhead cost that traditional publishing has to have to do the way they do.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just a one-man operation, your overhead is, the editor, the cover artist, and, your office in your basement or whatever. And so your margins for your return on investment don't have to be as severe. I've heard people say Amish romance is dead, but I know people making good money at it still. But they're just not on scale large enough that it would make the investment worth it for traditional publishing. So I think some of it's a matter of scale as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that when we talk about specifically like felines, because this cat was obviously a cat story, do you think it works better in science fiction or fantasy, or do you think it doesn't matter? I would speculate probably doesn't matter in that regard. But
you mean writing science fiction and fantasy, or
no, having cats in fiction, because I like I said, I've seen, people have implied that certain things are on the rise or that we're dying. We've talked about they're often not right, but I just found it fascinating since your story was also about a cat to sort of morph into that. Do you think the people that enjoy that, do you think it fits better with fantasy versus a science fiction setting?
Oh, I've written science fiction cat stories.
Okay. Logistically, I know people that write Master and Commander in space, they'll throw the cat in because cats were on ancient or wooden sailing ships. But I also know just as many people that roll their eyes at that. Like, no, you're not going to waste air on a whatever, So I've seen it both ways, and I don't know.
Yeah, but it goes back to what we said before about human beings like their animal companions. And so you see cats and other animals as companions to people starting in, even before middle grade. You can find picture books that is all about the person and their animal, whether it's a cat, a bear, or whatever. It's all through the fiction that we write because we as people like to connect things, and it's something that is humanizing, is that connection to, if that person loves their pet, then that makes me read them and go, oh, I like them. I'm like them because I have a cat, I have a dog, whatever. The boy and his dog story is this huge genre and always has been, and was kind of the girl and her cat was the other answer to that. And in science fiction and fantasy, we'll use everything. But cats and dragons and that kind of thing are particularly beloved, I think, because they come with so much personality. And, I look at my cats versus my poor dog, my poor sheepadoodle, and in her life, she is perfectly happy as long as all of her people are in one room and she can lay across the entry and guard us. That is her job, is to make sure we are safe, to make sure we are happy. And she just wants to lay there across the entry and take care of us. My cats are little murder hobos from hell. They run up and down things, and they keep eating stuff that they're not supposed to. They love greenery. I picked a cabbage the other day. I come in, and the two of them are fighting over the cabbage, and it's just like, why? This has nothing to do with what you want, and yet they're eating it, and they pluck my flowers, and they chew on it, and then they leave chewed up bits of flour all through my house. And people laugh. Jody's laughing because her cats do this kinds of things. Cats have such big personalities that as writers, you go, okay, this person should have a pet. And you immediately think, well, they can have the dog who is going to give them these kinds of things, be protected, be whatever. They can have the cat who you don't know what it's going to do until it does it. And then you go, well, that's a thing. I mean, I have a cat behind me right now, and he's asleep in a plastic bucket. He has a beautiful bed. It's fluffy. It has catnip in it, all these things. But the plastic bucket is his. And while I'm writing, he sleeps in his plastic bucket and snores. And how can you not write about those kind of personalities? So I think it's an integral part of what we write. And we're writing the fantastical anyway. And cats are magic, man. They do things that cannot be explained by normal physics.
Cats are liquid. I was on a panel at a Worldcon in Los Angeles many years ago with Connie Willis. This is important. Called "Are There Too Many Cats in Science Fiction?"
Okay.
Somebody had, I have it, still have it somewhere, put a supplement together of cats in science fiction and fantasy fiction, dating way back. It was a very comprehensive list, and I was very impressed by how much trouble they went to for a 1-hour panel. But Connie pointed out that it shouldn't have been called "Are There Too Many Cats in Science Fiction?" It's "Why Aren't There More Bulldogs in Science Fiction?"
I love it.
I will say that cats are unique in that I think they're the only, if I'm remembering my biology classes, they're the only animal that domesticated itself.
Mm-hmm.
They domesticated us, face it.
Yes.
The
Yes.
important thing that we came to the conclusion was that a story about a cat could have humor in it. It could have pathos. It could have any kind of emotion that you can think of. But stories that involve dogs almost are tragedies. Almost all of them are tragedies because the dog will sacrifice himself for us and the cat won't. The cat will go ahead and do the thing that the cat has always intended to, and take it or leave it. Here we are. So Connie herself had a series in which the cat is royalty, is some sort of nobility, and the dog is her servant and trusted advisor. And she said, and the dog is a saint. And of course, we all laughed, but it's absolutely true that it's very difficult to write a story in which the dog does not end up sacrificing something for their beloved people. So I would rather write a humorous story involving dogs, but it's much easier to write a funny story about a cat. And I will point out that it's not always women and cats. By the way, one of my favorite books is Robert Heinlein's The Door into Summer. All about this man and his cat, Petronius the Arbiter.
Yeah, you win. That's a great book.
That is one. It's that the funny thing when you were talking about the personality of cats, I'm remembering that meme that floats around every couple of years where it's the Sphinx talking to an actual cat. It's like, do they still worship us? Yes, they do.
and the caption that's in the meme.
Yeah.
Do they still worship us? And the kitten says, well, I shit in a box and they clean it. And the statue of Ast says, good.
So when it comes to cats in fiction, have you written any where the cat is humanoid and sentient, but it's like a feline alien race? Is that something you've played with?
Well, let's start with the Crisis on Duna and the Catherine series, in which the Cherubins are cat-like aliens. One of my earliest books. So,
Okay. I've read some of those kinds of fiction with cats. I don't know if you'd consider that feline fiction in that sense because they're sentient, like they're actual, like basically funny-looking humans.
It's difficult for humans to communicate in a meaningful way with animal intelligences.
Right.
So, what exactly are you thinking of?
Like the ones where it's just that, the alien race that the author is writing is inspired by a cat, so it has like kind of feline features, but it's not a cat. It's insert random word that is the alien race.
Mm-hmm. I have read things like that. Sure.
Is that something you've written though?
I have to think back. I've written a lot of stories.
I know you're at the point where it's like, wait, how many books have I published already?
Yeah. There's a lot. How many short stories? Yes.
Yeah, your bibliography is impressive.
Oh, thank you. It all goes to feed the cats.
You just gotta,
because they're in charge.
Okay.
They are. And
Is
when I complain about my office managers, it's them.
Always.
Well, you got to keep them, in food and such. So, is there anything coming up in the near future that you're going to be publishing that will have cats in them again for new fiction for you?
Oh, undoubtedly. I'm trying to think right now what I have sitting, waiting to come out.
Oh, that's a harder to track when you turn it in
Yeah.
a couple years before it goes. I see that as being confusing. Yeah. Are you ever surprised that something came out? It's like, oh, wait, that was today? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, yeah, it does. Somebody will say, "Oh God, here's your book," and I'm so excited about it. And, oh my God, what's that today? Or it's coming up in a week. Would you please do some publicity for it? And it's, wait a minute, it can't be July already. Yes.
Hey,
So
Okay. So
it happens. I am supposed to be working towards the next thing. So I don't know any writers who have said, I know exactly what day it is every day.
no, I can't say that. Well, I know when it's a school day because I got kids. So
yeah,
Well,
you have to have an outside thing that tells you what day it is, like children.
I used to know somebody who said, if you go freelance, if you start working at home, take a daily newspaper because then you will always know what day it is. And that was good advice right up into the point where newspapers started to become stupidly expensive to subscribe to. So now I rely on my watch, which tells me what the day and date is.
Yeah, and then a lot of the news stuff went digital, so that makes it even more confusing. Like, no, I got to stay away from the internet. I got to write things.
Yes,
So,
do not regret it.
Other than obviously your own stuff, as we bring this to a close, do you have a favorite portrayal of a cat in fiction that you didn't write?
Oh, so many. I mean, if you start all the way back with the Cheshire Cat,
Oh, yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, I think he's a wonderful creature. You've seen a cat without a smile, but have you ever seen a smile without a cat?
I wonder if that was an LSD dream sometimes.
I think that goes back before LSD. That goes back to the 19th century. So
probably not, but it definitely felt a little trippy. I remember being weirded out the first time I saw that.
There was a lot of that. I could name lots and lots of cat creatures that have been in stories that I have enjoyed, and Terry Pratchett's Nanny Ogg's cat Grebo, who is so much a cat. He is such a cat, and even when he does a brief stint as a human being, he's still a cat, and I love that. I love The Cat Who Could Read Backwards, Lillian Jackson Brown's series, up to a certain point in the series where it wasn't working for me anymore. But the two beautiful Siamese cats who just do cat things, but their owner, James Quillerin, interprets them. And he comes to the conclusion that they're helping him solve crimes. So those are wonderful. And Rita Mae Brown, spelled differently, her series often have intelligent animals of all species, but it's the ones that she writes with her own cat, Sneaky Pie Brown, which are the Mrs. Murphy mysteries. And it's Mrs. Murphy, who is a tabby cat, Pewter, who is, I think, a Russian blue, and their friend, who is a corgi. And they solve crimes at the same time as their human owner is also solving crimes. So those are huge fun. I love them. So there are lots and lots of cats in fantasy, science fiction, mystery that are enjoyable to read.
So what I'm hearing is there's more books I need to read, and my TBR pile continues to grow.
I think you will enjoy all of these.
What about you, Jana? Since you are also a lady who happens to babysit a cat.
I'm just flat out owned by them. They all know this. I walk out and they go and sit by the treats, and they say, "You will give us the treats now," and I give them the treats now because that's what I do. But Oh, some of my favorites. I love Bagheera from the Jungle Book.
Oh,
That is
yeah,
one long suffering panther. That
yeah.
poor thing being put in charge of a man cub. Um, Patricia C. Reed did the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, and there is a whole passel of 9 cats there that are they own the witch in question, and they are hysterical. They are such a fun part of the entire thing that's going on. Like I said, the Cheshire Cat. There's so much, and I love seeing them in there. And Chinara, is it Chinara? Oh, I'm going to get the name wrong. Anyway, there are always places where the cat is there, and I am there for it.
Okay. I thought just because we've had previous conversations, you might have gone with the cat from Calvin and Hobbes.
Well, yeah, Hobbes is awesome. I mean, such a intelligent and long-suffering soul that again puts up with a small man cub who is bent on destruction, and you get so much out of that. That his focus really is a can of tuna fish and a warm fire, and yet he's willing to do all of these things and go on these crazy adventures. I do love Hobbes, and that my daughter loves Aaron Hunt and all of her Warrior Cats series, and she will sit me down. It's like, Mom, you have to hear what happened. And she has read them all. And there is this thing going on and that thing going on. And then she gets all of her stuffies out, and she's 12 and she still has stuffies, and she will name them. And these are the apprentices, and these are these, and these are the ones that are part of Star Clan because they've already died. And part of what I love is just to see how that grabs her imagination and makes her a reader. And so many of these stories are like that connection makes us say, oh yes, it's got a cat in it. There's a cat on the cover. I will at least give it a shot. I'm there with dragons too. There are certain creatures that if it's on the cover, I'm going to pick it up. I may or may not read the whole thing, but I'm going to pick it up. And you have a gorgeous cat on there, I'm going to pick it up.
For me, I always go back to the OG Garfield, and then the cat from Tom and Jerry. I really felt bad for that cat. He was abused. It was bad.
And
all right,
of course.
And with
yes,
that, I do know we can't go on forever, and I promise you I try to keep it tight. So, what are you working on now, Jody, as we bring us to a close?
I promise I will finish the myth adventure novel that I'm working on by the end of the summer. And after that, I'm working on a new Brainship book.
Cool.
Oh, yay!
All right.
I'm happy to hear these things. I love being on this show. I get to hear about things that are coming out, and I can go, okay, put my money away, because when these come out, I need more of them. I need them.
There's certain authors like that. I need you to tell me when you've got audiobooks coming out so I can save my credit. Dang it. I don't want it to come out and find out I spent the credit yesterday. You got to tell me these things. Speaking of that, if you want to know those kinds of details, joining an author's newsletter will generally help you find those kinds of details, because that is the most reliable way to get them to communicate with you. So if they wanted to track you down, Jody, and obviously all this will be in the show notes, but where might they find you?
Well, I have a website, jodylynnye.com, but occasionally jodynye.net. We got as many of the URLs as we could. And I am on Facebook, Jody Lynn Nye, and on Bluefly. That is Bluefly, isn't it?
It's Blue Sky, I think.
Blue Sky, excuse me. Bluefly used to be a shopping website.
Oh.
It had really cute things. Jody Lynn Nye. And very, very occasionally on Instagram. I need to increase my output on that, because it's a fun website. And
I'm sensing a theme. If we type your name into the search box, generally we can find you.
In other words, yes.
So this is the part of the interview, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your minds on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So it really does matter. It really is a difference. And so do your part. It helps spread the word. And with that, you can find us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitter, the Spotify, the Discord, the Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page, our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again,